to the Onyx Pathcast. I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Webb, and with me are Matthew Dawkins.
Hello.
And Dixie Cochran.
Hello.
And we are fresh off of our impromptu Mario Kart game.
Yeah, we missed a trick there. Our intro should have been, let's go! Similar.
Don't tell them that we take time out of our recording schedule to play Mario Kart on the Switch.
Well, it was research purposes because we are looking into possibly doing other things with the Onyx Path Twitch channel. And one of them is the fact that we might be able to do video games on there. And so we all had Mario Kart 8. We thought, hey, maybe we'd try and see how that works and possibly do something for Twitch games. So we're still exploring that, but it was a justification for why we did 3 races where I lost all of them. So.
It's the only way we can get the Nintendo sponsorship.
If I hadn't hit myself with my own green shell at the very end there.
Yeah, that was very sad, deeply tragic.
For those of you who have not played online Mario Kart, whenever someone wins one of the races, they get a little crown that their avatar can wear. I do not have one of these crowns yet. Everybody else has one. I do not.
It was really funny, actually. We came back from one of the races. We were selecting the next race. And the way that our little me avatars had converged on the globe we're on, it looked like Matthew and myself were just bullying Eddie for not having a crown. Like we were just berating him for being crownless.
Oh, poor Eddie.
Yes, but to avoid this becoming the Nintendo Switch Pathcast,
Onyx Switchcast.
Onyx Switchcast. There we go. That's even better. This week we are actually going to talk about a different game, one of our games, Deviant. We're actually going to do a deep dive on Deviant the Renegades, and rather than the 3 of us talking about it, we actually thought it would be cool to bring Eric Zawadzki on to have him talk because he loves talking about Deviant. He's really excited about the product.
Also because he's one of the developers.
Yes, he is one of the developers. But I assume that was understood. My apologies. Yes, he's one of the developers for Deviant, but also he's very passionate about it. It's not rare that to hear a developer that's like really excited about their game, but it is exciting to hear someone who would love to actually talk about what's cool about it, what's engaging about it, and especially for a newer property like Deviant, it's not a second edition of an established game. It's a whole new area of the Chronicles of Darkness to explore. So we thought it made more sense to have Dixie and I kind of chat with him and have him talk about what was really exciting and go into the depth of what Deviant the Renegades could do. So let's go ahead and go talk to Eric. And we are here with Eric to start talking about Deviant the Renegades. Renegades.
Why do people always want to make it one? If there's only one, the game is not exciting. Deviant, one renegade. One single renegade. And everybody else has to play baselines.
That's all you get. So thank you for coming on, Eric. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me. Us. What am I? Now I'm fertile somehow. Yeah, the whole cohort is here.
Eric has some kind of variation that gives him cloning abilities, like the character I played in the playtest at Midwinter.
But true fact, when people talk about like what superpower you wish you had, mine is always multi-locationality, being able to be in more than one place at a time and actually act in those different locations. Because I always have so many other things I want to do.
Yes.
And it's just
I feel like most freelancers would just use that to overwork themselves more.
It's very true. It's very, very true.
Although if I had a couple clones, I'd be really excited because they could do things like edit books and write books, and I could play Fire Emblem forever.
Yeah, it would be fun to do that too.
But yes, actually, at the time of this recording, I know, we're not supposed to state these, but in this case, we're intentionally.
But we do every episode.
I know, but this time it's intentional. This time it's not accidental. It's not Matthew just blurting out random factual information. We're actually intentionally dating this because we are in the middle of the Deviant the Renegades Kickstarter. Don't have to put the extras every time now. But at this point, we're about $55,000, so we're definitely funded. We're actually, I think, like 125% funded around there.
Yeah.
Almost 160.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, 160 is going to be our next stretch goal. So
Sweet.
Yeah, and we are $500 from that as of right this second.
I know. I feel like I'm part of a telethon here.
Right?
It really is. Kickstarter really is like that.
We should start
bit.
doing that for those possible live episodes. Just do a telethon. Every dollar you contribute will reveal one fact about whatever Kickstarter is going on right now.
Oh, heck, just post something on the forums and I'll probably fess up to something.
Wait for the money, Eric.
Yeah, boy, that's hard. Extroverted creative types are just like, we're just a danger to ourselves and others because they spend all of this time alone by necessity to actually get stuff done. But whenever I'm doing that, I really want to talk about what I'm working on. And whenever I'm talking about what I'm working on, I really want to go back and start working on it some more. It's just, I can't win. Again, multi-locationality.
Yeah, totally. And that's why we got you on here, is because we had a lot of fun during your interview, and we want to make sure we gave you like a whole hour to kind of talk about this, because it is a new Chronicles of Darkness game. This is not a second edition of an existing Chronicles of Darkness game. This is not an old World of Darkness property being reimagined for Chronicles. This is a totally new thing. So in case people didn't hear your interview, maybe give us kind of a high-level thing of what Deviant the Renegades is all about.
Gades.
Gades. You don't need that many S's, I don't think. In summary, Deviant is, in Deviant the Renegades, you play humans who've been transformed by exposure to the supernatural by other humans. You are a sort of living Rosetta Stone for people who look upon the supernatural with avarice. They want to understand it. They want to control it. They want to replicate it in a lot of cases. But the process of gaining these abilities damages your soul in such a way that you have a drive to either protect the people you love or care about to a sometimes unhealthy degree. But you also have a drive to destroy those who you hate or oppose you. Conspiracies being often not willing to take no for an answer as they hunt you down to try to get you to use your powers for them, or to study your powers, or vivisect you so they can study your powers, tend to get your conviction attention, your sense of vengeance going real fast. Mm-hmm. So you're playing the Renegades, the people who have decided that they do not want to work for the Conspiracies. They want to be free, and they want to take down the ones who've wronged them.
Okay. And so you're playing one of these Renegades. What does kind of character creation look like? What kind of groups can you be a part of? What kind of choices do you make character creation? How does it differ from default Chronicles, that kind of stuff?
Well, it has two main axes, as a lot of Chronicles of Darkness games do. You have your origin, which is the circumstances under which you underwent the divergence. You may have gone through there willingly. You may have gone through under sort of false pretenses. Hey, you're going to get a special cancer treatment, but just kidding, we're going to break your soul and try to understand how that works.
Yeah, that's the like Wade Wilson Deadpool school of transformation.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm going to do Inspirations in a little bit, but gosh, that's going to be a long list. I can't even begin them. But anyway, you have people who were definitely decidedly unwilling. Black bag over the head. You fit the profile, so we're going to drag you off and experiment on you.
That's Wolverine.
Yep, Wolverine would qualify. Yeah.
I'm just going to keep throwing in examples.
Yep, you have the people who are born or destined to have these abilities or have this event happen to them. So you have your Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you have your Orphan Black.
Also Wolverine and every other X-Men.
Yeah, X-Men definitely fit in there. I grew up on the 90s X-Men cartoon, so.
Same.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da. Yeah. I know, you can't help but sing it every time you hear about it.
It's true.
It's so good.
And then you have the accidents. The Hulk.
Me.
Good example.
Oh.
You, like real life?
Yeah, I'm an accident.
Okay.
So many questions.
Yeah, okay.
You both know me. Come on.
So that's the first axis. Then the second one is what's called Clade, which is kind of how your powers manifest, how they work. there's a lot of flexibility as far as what you are able to take. I mean, being part of one clade doesn't exclude you from using powers of the others, nor does it force you to take abilities that are associated with your clade. It's just that you have a trend toward that, a statistical tendency toward the clade variations, and also sort of additional abilities called adaptations that are specific to clades. For example, coactives can sacrifice their. Maybe I should explain what these are first. All right, let's back up. You have the cephalists, who are the psychics. They're the ones who, whatever happened to them, whether it was wacky experiments with technology, or whether it was having strange materials or energies inserted into them, or whether it was having been mixed with some other animal or creature, their mind broke in the process. The trauma was what released that power. And so they manifest these psychic abilities. And their adaptation, the main adaptation, is that when they can spend willpower, and they can basically like exert additional energy to increase the power of one of their powers temporarily. So that's what they do.
So in case anybody was wondering, this is how you play 11 from Stranger Things.
Yes. Yeah. So 11 is a good example of a cephalist.
It's going to be my entire contribution to this conversation.
It's just random pop culture references.
Pop culture references are my jam. That's
true.
This is where I'm most useful.
and this game really invites it. I've got people who've been, on the comment section going, "Why didn't you put this in the inspirations?" I'm like, dudes, I have only so many words to work with, and the list is huge.
Although, for those listening, I've already looked at the list, and we might be adding some stuff to it, because I think we have some room. Because the list isn't that big, and I think we can add a few more to it.
Have you seen Dave's?
I have. I'm actually looking at Dave's in the Slack right now, in case we wanted to list it off later.
Yeah, I think I added all of 2, because I'm like, there's already so many here, and I don't have a lot of space. But
I will say, you added 9.
I added 9? Okay.
Yeah. I'm very proud of you.
Maybe I'm misremembering this, but yeah, there's in any case, that's the stuff list. The chimerics are hybrids of a human and some other living thing. They're basically mixing biological materials. So your, I'm trying to remember, the island of Dr. Moreau.
The fly, yeah.
The fly, yep.
The fly. Ones of that, types of things of that nature, where you're combining 2 different creatures. And they're, with cephalists, you're, not surprisingly, you have a lot of telepathic, a lot of mind powers, astral projection, things that are there, that's their special clade. Their clade variations, their clade powers are very much mental stuff. With chimerics, they're masters of both the species. They blend in with both groups of people. So you have ones that allow you to temporarily hide your abilities and your scars, which are the disadvantages that come with the variations that come with the powers. You can there's a social set where it convinces everyone that you meet that you are part of their. They treat you like you're a member of their family unit. So stuff like that. There's an animal transformation power in there. So they're very much about being 2 different creatures, or being able to blend in with multiple different species or multiple different social groups. Their specific adaptation is that they can reduce the severity of one of their scars, one of the disadvantages temporarily. Okay. So again, hiding what they are. Then you have the coactives, who are the infused. They have some sort of either energy, whether it's arcane energy or natural energy like electricity, that is put in, is a part of them now. The Hulk would qualify. Buffy would qualify. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I thought you meant the other Buffy. I was so confused for a minute.
I don't know. These kids today have all sorts of things. So I'm sure they're remaking The Princess Bride. These kids. Yeah, well, I think they're just trying to keep their copyright in place more than anything.
Yeah.
That's why they're remaking all of these movies that kind of object to them remaking, but what can you do?
Anyway.
So coactives are kind of the most prone to interacting with other supernatural creatures. Now, Deviant doesn't do explicit crossover in the core. That's too big of a topic for a lot of reasons for a core book.
Which we've said with like every Chronicles core, because people are always like, crossover, true. We're like, that's a whole book. And then we made a book called Contagion Chronicle. Go with that. It's
true. And even if you're just talking about like incorporating some like kind of like what Beast did, where it had like sort of little short versions of a whole bunch of like one of each of the major splats to kind of. So if you don't have to buy all the books, but you have some way of representing a mummy or a vampire or a mage within your game. So, but even that, that doesn't come until the Storyteller's Guide, as I recall.
Right.
So, was that Beast or Demon? Oh my gosh, I've worked on so many things. It's like hard to keep track of them anymore. But in any case, but it's something for a little bit later on. I want to do some form of of that kind of like, here's, how to incorporate their abilities a little bit and reflect that. But the big challenge there is going to be Conspiracies, which someone on the comment section already noticed and was asking about. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I can't do this shit in the core. There's not enough space to do it right.
Right.
But the coactives are the ones that they have abilities that mess with other splats the most. So you have one where they can figure out someone's true name, or erase it, or change it at high levels. Yikes. Yeah, so it's like, okay, and the thing is, it's like, how much does that matter to a regular person? Probably not a lot. There's a stat stuff involved. There's some like mechanics around it, but at the end of the day, it's only scary if you have a mage as an enemy or a demon as an enemy, and then it becomes suddenly very important that they not know that you can do that. Or there's also one that just makes you able to resist or counter or remove the effects of other supernatural creatures temporarily. So things of that nature. It also deals with luck. There's a precognition power in there. So they're very much otherworldly in the very real sense of that, which makes sense, since most of them are, or at least a very significant percentage of them are, have had contact with some sort of ephemeral being or other supernatural energy.
Right.
And their specific ability, their adaptation is that they can choose to take a small amount of damage in order to boost one of their variations temporarily. So similar to the Cephalist, but physical instead of mental. Another example of coactive in terms of capabilities, although they're not quite as scarred as we'd like them to be. Jedi would be a coactive, because you're feeling an energy force and you're doing something with it, manipulating it. So that would fit. And when I was reading the coactive write-up the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, that's very, very much like that. Or like the way it came across sounded very much like that, or I don't know, Randall Thor. To get back in the old Wheel of Time, which is pretty far back in my reading past, but that, it's an external energy. It's a force that you manipulate, that it's part of you.
Is that all the Clades then?
Oh, two more. We've got invasives, who are. You said I have an hour.
No, it's fine. I just want to make sure that we got them all.
I know. No, fear not.
It is very easy talking about Deviant to get derailed in like pop culture explanations and like talking about how cool it is.
Right.
It's true.
It's so easy. Anyway.
It is. Invasives, it's about something inanimate that's become a part of you. So Cyborg's the obvious one. But it can be vision, gemstone and the mind stone in the skull.
Would it also be a character like the Thing that had a rocky hide, or
that it's not really a matter of what it looks like per se. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of how it works, how it kind of draws its ability. So, like, if you have like a like a cybernetic arm that's the source of your abilities, or if you have like a bunch of mechanical internals, like the $6 million man, would qualify.
Okay,
RoboCop would qualify. You're talking about adding something inanimate, technological, or it can be a mystical bent, but again, inanimate, not organic, not living.
Yeah, it can be nanites. It can be all kinds of things.
And then finally, the invasives, their thing is they're the Terminator. They can shut down their variations temporarily to heal. So they just keep coming. That's their fun that's their adaptation. And for the most part, their Clade variations are focused on utility, but very subtle in a lot of ways. Like there's one called omnicompetence, which just means that you kind of have floating skill dots that you can call on.
Oh, nice.
Or there's one that gives you floating merit dots. I had include a whole bunch of fighting merits and you don't really see that very often in a lot of the Chronicles of Darkness games with the full splats, because who's going to pick up a bunch of martial arts? Well, if you can have any martial art you want a couple times per session, having at least a list of those to actually access is kind of important.
Yeah, so you can download Kung Fu and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what. Isn't that the character that Neil played at Midwinter had that?
Yes.
He had like nanites in his brain that could make it so that he was omnicompetent, so he could just all of a sudden he was real good at one thing, and then later real good at another thing. It was a really cool power to see in action, actually.
Yeah. And, been toned down very slightly from the Midwinter days because it got a little out of control in that version. But it's still very much that kind of do this cool thing.
For what it's worth, we also, after the playtest at Midwinter, I did kind of look at Megan, who was running the game, and I was like, some of these are a little broken. And then she explained to me, because at the time I hadn't seen as much of the game, she was like, well, we're not playing with scars. So you don't have any drawbacks right now. You can just be badasses. And I was like, oh. So you're only playing with half the rule set? Because it's a playtest. We just want to see how the powers worked.
Right.
So yeah, so once she kind of explained scars to me and explained that if we had been using our powers that much and that over the top in that short time period, we'd probably all be dead. I was like, oh, okay.
At the very least, you're attracting conspiracy attention, which bites you in the next episode.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll get to conspiracies. There's just so much to this game.
Right.
I'm still on Clades. I'm halfway done with character creation. In any case, but then there's the mutants, which are a little bit like the cephalist in that it's whatever was done to you, something else happened. Mm-hmm. But instead of it being mental trauma, having this. Your mind just opens to this power. Instead, it's your body that just suddenly it changes and it becomes a receptacle for this power. So, the flip way I describe it is you get cancer and it gives you superpowers. But they are incredibly flexible and versatile. Their adaptation is, and it comes with a pretty fair limit and cost, but their adaptation is that they can swap out one of their variations for another universal variation, basically any that isn't associated with a specific clade, once per chapter of half the magnitude. So half as powerful, but a huge amount of variety that you can call upon. So, and all the adaptations are, you can use them once per chapter because they can get really ridiculous. You don't have some limit on them, but every clade also comes with an adaptation that lets them overcome the once per chapter thing and kind of make an exception for themselves at an additional cost. So it's willpower, damage. In the case of the mutant, again, their adaptation is incredibly potent, they actually take instability, which moves them a little closer to like final destruction if they're not careful. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's the those are the origins and clades, the like main splats. Also within the game, you have a bunch of forms, and a form is basically if a variation and scar combination really can't emulate what you're going for, you're probably looking for a form.
Right.
So one example of one form is transmissible, which means that your variation is contagious. Your not your variation, but your condition is contagious. So yes, you can be a classic werewolf, and when you bite someone, they might become a werewolf too. You can become a zombie, which is a little silly, but that's sort of like you can pass on that condition with all of the downsides that comes with, because most people don't survive the attempt at divergence. It's a very high risk transformation. Other form we have is a symbiote. You have to kind of bargain with your powers. And there's also the self-made, which is a little bit more of in some ways a more social thing, because it means that you were the responsible for your own transformation, whether it was an accident or whether it was, you signed yourself up. There's even like one example I can think of in media of an unwilling self-made, which is in Dark City, the scientist who's basically forced to erase his own memories.
Oh, okay.
That would be an unwilling self-made. So it's possible. It's unusual, but it is possible. So a group of those. And then the last one being an amalgam, where you are multiple different sets of memories. It doesn't mean that you're fighting each other like over the body. That's a different issue, a scar later on. But it means that you have all of these different life experiences to draw on. If you remember the Dune series, if you know the books, they have memories of all of the previous generations of them, constantly giving them advice.
Okay.
And that would be an amalgam. But there are certainly other options too, where literally two people got stuck in the same body and they've figured out how to work together, but they have two sets of memories. Now, since we've hit some stretch goals, I was able to expand that list of forms to include the ability to play something that was not originally human, or isn't native as a human. So you're talking about your visitors from parallel dimensions, your visitors from alternate timelines, your androids, and your uplifted animals.
As a random example.
So you could, it's just a random example. No, the true story on this, a lot of the forms that end up in the under the thought of the Clades companion were because of playtesters going, gosh, I wish I could have done this. And I'm like, you're right, they totally should let you do that, but I'm out of space, I'm out of time. Right. And then they're like, hey, do you have some stretch goal ideas? I'm like, oh, do I ever? Someone wanted to play a talking squirrel with electrokinesis and that pheromone power that let him convince everyone that he was normal and belonged there. So,
right. Or an uplifted raccoon who likes technology.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. So stuff like that had an opportunity to do that. So expanding what you can do with it. Talking about if you want to do extraterrestrial visitors, you could do ET. It is possible to do that. Okay. We're not going to give you an alien civilization to work with, but if you want to say, yeah, I'm on the run from the government who wants to dissect my alien body, you can do that.
And so these forms are in addition to Clades and Origins, or are they a separate thing?
Yes, they're They're little bits of mechanics that are there to facilitate something that you can't just do with Clades Clades and Origins and Variations and Scars. They're just a little weird. They're not mutually exclusive. You can be both a extra dimensional being and that's the other one was if you're an ephemeral, like a spirit that's put into a human body. That's another outsider type of story. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the forms are not mutually exclusive. You can be a self-made symbiote. There's nothing that stops you from doing that. Okay. So it just is. Not everyone is going to have them. In fact, I'd say that most people aren't going to have them. But the option is there for someone who wants to play something a little weird.
I think that everyone in this game wants to play something a little weird, from what I've seen on the Chronicles Discord over the past week or so.
And actually, that is a nice segue into now going through the nested topics we jumped over. We did skip over inspirations. We dropped a lot of inspirations during the course of this conversation so far, but I want to make sure we go into like what the actual inspirations for the game were, as well as the 9 million pop culture references we can make.
Well, I mean, Dave Brookshaw really came up with the seed of this. He had a list of, I want to say it was like 40 or 50. It was a pretty significant list of characters he wanted to make sure that the Variations and Scars and Forms rules could do. Mm-hmm. And he said, if I can't do all of these characters, then I will feel like it's failed and you'll have to fix that.
A lot of the original inspirations were, things like a dark take on some of the superhero stuff, and also things like Akira was a huge inspiration. And also just the notion of, we have a lot of games in Chronicles. We didn't really have an explicit kind of fight the power game.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it's about fighting each other or fighting for a cause or politics or what have you, fighting to survive. And this one's definitely about, like, fighting back against the thing that made you what you were. Mm-hmm. It would be like if every vampire game was about new vampires trying to kill the elders. Like, every single one, Mm-hmm.
Or if Changeling were about going after your Seeker, like, immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeper, rather. Immediately.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem like a healthy solution to any of your problems in Changeling.
Yeah. So the list that we keep referencing, the big list that Dave wrote and that Eric added to you, is not so much the original inspirations as a list of things that we wanted to make sure you could do with the game.
Okay.
So, like, that came far later in the process. Because, yeah, it was a whole list that Dave and Eric were using to test for the, like, essentially completeness of the character building tools, as Dave said in the Slack. And there are a lot of them. And it is, I mean, I'm not going to read the whole list because that would take up 5 minutes for no reason. Right. But it is a huge range. So we have things like Alex Mack, the clones from Orphan Black, all of them. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Echo from Dollhouse, 11, Invisible Man, Jessica Jones, Kamen Rider, which is also a big influence on this. Scanners, Tetsuo from Akira, the Hulk, the Tomorrow People, the Toxic Avenger, V for Vendetta, like Vincent from the 90s Beauty and the Beast, like just so many different kinds of people. And then some of the ones that Eric added were things like Deadpool, which a lot of people go to. I always go to that with this game because, he's one of the very few superheroes that was given powers but has drawbacks. Right. The Winter Soldier, Ben Hawkins from Carnival, just like all kinds of people that we tried to make with this. Just to kind of test the system and see if we could. And you might not be able to make an exact replica of whatever superhero you're trying to make. Like, Superman would be a really boring character to play because the amount of scars you would have to get to make up for all of his powers would not... It would be too much. Like, right. It would be the most depressing version of Superman that couldn't use a single power. So yeah, there are some things that you can't make. Of course, players at their table can do whatever they want. Like, if players choose to ignore scars and play this more superhero-y, a few people have asked that in the Kickstarter. I'm not mad about it, but also we do have a game called Aberrant.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
If you want to play a super gritty, dark superheroes that are not great guys, a la The Boys, maybe, that might be more doable. Or like Watchmen, maybe. But even then, some of them are a little too powerful. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's one thing I find really interesting about this game is because for a lot of the other games we work on, there's usually like 5 to 10 touchstone inspirational properties. Like, and here's the things that we're trying to drawing from. There are some exceptions, like the various vampire games, because there's a lot of vampire fiction, but usually we have a pretty focused list. And so when I keep hearing there's this wide, long list, I was like, wow, my first instinct as a designer is like, does this game have a strong focus? But it really does. That's what's really interesting about this thing. It's one of those things that when you talk about the game at first, it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting, but then we start listing off all the inspirations. It's like, why has no one ever done this exact intersection before? Because you're right, it's not superheroes specifically. It's not dark horror specifically. It's different from action adventure, but you're right, it also has that punk rock vibe that a lot of our games really don't have at the moment.
Yeah, I've seen a million people in the Kickstarter comments and on the Discord server mentioning Guyver, and like Guyver's on the list, y'all. Mm-hmm. He's between the Invisible Man and Hollow Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's on the list, like he's there. So yeah, like they've really, honestly, most of the media that we're not seeing on the list is slightly newer stuff, mm-hmm. and that's mostly because we're all of an age.
Sure, right.
Where that's not where we immediately go. But even then, Eric, including things like, movie Deadpool and Winter Soldier and stuff, like that's recent. Those are touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. And actually,
I'm currently absorbing My Hero Academia, which is an interesting twist on superheroes that has a little bit of overlap with this.
Yeah. I can see that.
That's recent.
Absolutely. But actually, one thing, as you guys have been describing this, that keep coming up is you keep mentioning scars. I wonder if we could talk a little bit more about what those are and how they affect characters at the table.
Eric, that's all you.
Yeah, I know it is. So variations, I think, just by context, you probably figured out is what we call the powers, and a lot of them are pretty. Are going to be a little bit familiar if you're familiar with superhero genre at all. There's a lot of familiar. There's a lot of new stuff too, but there's you have your flight, you have your super speeds, you have super strength. All that stuff is going to be in there. But scars in some ways are more important, and they're a greater emphasis in the game fiction than variations, because they are kind of the reason you're so mad. They're a disadvantage. They're a problem that comes with the power that you have received. Mm-hmm. You have three broad categories of scars, and I feel like they kind of each encapsulate a different type of horror within the I've got these weird powers that I don't really understand genre. There's the controlled scars, which means that your variations don't always work. They require an activation roll. And they come with a price. They may cause damage to you. Again, L from Stranger Things. They may cause you to lose some of your ability to walk or use your hands temporarily. They might cost willpower. They might cause you to forget everything that happened when that power was being used, which is a pretty significant one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But each one has some disadvantage. A concentration, it means that if you get distracted while you're using your power, it just turns off. Really great when you're flying. For a helicopter passes a little too close to you, and suddenly you're not flying anymore. So those are again I don't know whether the power will be there when I need it, and I don't know whether my using the power will drain my resources to the point where I can't use it when I need it even more than I need it now. So that's controlled. Involuntary scars mean your variations activate on their own, either because of just randomness, or because of specific stimulus that you can avoid. So you get in the sun and suddenly you're have lightning shrouding you. That could be a problem for going to the grocery store and not attracting attention from the conspiracies they're hunting you.
Right.
So involuntary variations are a little bit more of the sort of Hulk feel, where you're kind of nervous all the time because either you could run into something that will cause your power to activate, or it just might overflow at a bad moment and hurt someone around you, or hurt innocent bystanders, or just attract attention when you really can't afford to have attention drawn to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the involuntary horror. The my body is doing things that I can't stop it from doing,
Right.
Because my powers are acting on their own. And then there's the persistent scars, which are the sort of permanent flaws or vulnerabilities that you have that you can't escape. They're always there. Your vulnerability to something, the sort of bane effects, your having amnesia is another one. Some of them also are very specific, are there to kind of reinforce problems that deviants already have. There's one called lying eyes that makes it really hard for you to convince people to trust you, even when and especially if you're trying to tell them the truth. You have paranoia, which makes it so that you have a really hard time trusting anybody. Frozen heart, which means you have a really hard time opening up and understanding people. So some of them are social, some of them are mental, some of them are physical. I mean, fewer health levels is a scar in a couple different scenarios, or bleeding faster. All of these disadvantages. And when I think about especially persistent scars, I think about what it takes away from you.
Right.
Dixie, you remember the characters that we had for Midwinter. I thought I did a pretty decent job of expressing this person used to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
He wasn't like a star, but this was something he was really passionate about. He liked to go out and he play basketball with his friends. But after the divergence, he couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without having to sit down for 10 minutes.
Right.
It took something fundamental from him. And yeah, he's angry about it. There was a beach bunny who liked to be in the sun all the time. The divergence caused it so that getting in the sun causes damage to her, burns her skin. So the thing that she used to do for fun, for leisure, is over. You had the nun who was an elementary school teacher that had just retired not long ago, and suddenly she had this urge to kill anyone who opposed her. She would get very violent if someone got in an argument.
Oh yeah,
with
she
her.
was a really interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was anyone that just opposed her. It was like,
yeah, and it's rationally, intellectually, she knows that it's the divergence. It's not something that is her. She has a history, all of the drawings from her various students over the years that she's collected, and all of the pictures of her having fun with these kids, and now she couldn't be trusted in that situation, and it's because of this. Why is she angry? I can't imagine. So persistent scars are very much, something that takes away from you. The interesting thing about scars across the board is they're all tied to, physical, mental, or social. So there's a lot of other things. And so they feed on the attributes of whatever they're associated with. So a mental scar, the variation is entangled in some way with intelligence, wits, and resolve. And so there's a significant advantage to having high mental attributes. But the thing is, of course, every mental scar makes it so you have a harder time dealing with certain mental tasks. So where you were strongest is now also your vulnerability. If you were a super social character and you have a bunch of social scars, the fact that you have high social attributes means that your variation is more powerful, but you also have a scar that makes it so it's much harder to deal with social situations.
Interesting.
And the same with physical.
So basically, it's the more powerful the character you become, the more the backlash that happens as a result of using those powers.
Yes, the more powerful the variation, the more powerful the scar that must be entangled with it, must be connected to it.
Yeah, which is why my example of Superman not being the best person to try to make.
Right.
I wouldn't even try, quite honestly.
Well, yeah, because he has all these powers and one weakness.
Yeah,
So,
and it's not even much of a weakness. It's like a very rare bane.
Right.
It's like it's at most a magnitude 3 scar. So our variations in scars are rated on a scale from 1 to 5. 5 being the most powerful, 1 being the smallest.
It's just like 1 to 5 dots, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's 1 to 5 dots. Now, though they don't cost more experience. You don't have to buy the second dot of variation to get the third dot. When you buy the variation, you say, okay, here's the scar it's entangled with, and as long as it can support that a variation of the magnitude that you want, that's the magnitude.
Oh, so you purchase them more closer to, like, say, merit or a gift.
A little bit more like a gift than merit, because, for example, I'll get into entanglement a little bit more. But if you are willing to take a magnitude 5 scar, you can entangle it with a magnitude 5 variation.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is magnitude 5 variation is really awesome. The problem is that magnitude 5 scar is really nasty. So it's very much a decide what you want to do, whether you're willing to pay that price.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's talk about entanglement then.
Entanglement, every scar is connected to one or more variations. And so when you first create a character, you have a certain number of dots of variations to power up based on what the power level of the game is. You can start at a very gritty level of game where you have a total of 2 magnitude plus 1 you get from your origin, all the way up to 15 plus 1 magnitude for your origin. So you can have a very wide range of capabilities with starting characters. But once you decide on what kind of variations you want, you have to make sure you have you have the scars that will support that. Mm-hmm. Now, you can do a 1-for-1. If you have a magnitude 5 variation, you must have a magnitude 5 scar. There's no way around that. But if you want 2 magnitude 4 scar variations, you can have 1 magnitude 5 scar and entangle it with both of them. Mm. And it's sort of like a little pyramid of things. So, it's if you go to the manuscript, it'll tell you the exact breakdown of how many you can have of each based on the magnitude. But which scar your variation is entangled with determines what attribute category it feeds off of.
Okay.
So, anyway.
So, I mean, it's cool. It does sound like there's a lot of flexibility, and more specifically, rather than a traditional superhero game where these penalties are usually used to offset point values or to give you kind of a way to generate points, it sounds like these are much more of a personal, direct penalties for using these abilities.
Yes, and it's probably your main source of beats in this game.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in using carrots to encourage the playing of a disadvantage rather than sticks, because if I'm a storyteller, I can't keep track of everyone's disadvantages very easily. I've got so many other things going on.
Right.
But you as a player can track your own abilities. Mm-hmm. Everyone does. But tracking your scars, tracking those downsides, there's not much of an incentive by itself to remind the GM, oh yeah, actually I can't do that because I'm out of breath. You may forget. But whenever a beat disadvantages you or complicates something for your cohort, you get a beat for it. So there's an advantage, not only of the mechanical effect, but an advantage of making sure that it comes into play occasionally. Because again, scars are more important to the game than the variations. Variations are great. They're fun. They make the game a lot of a joy to play, and you can do all sorts of cool stuff with them. But as far as the story element of it, the scars are so important to the tone and the style of the game. And so rewarding players for actually playing up their scars makes the game feel more like the game that I want it to be.
Actually, that's really fascinating because it is such an inverse of a lot of games, period. I mean, it's not even superhero games, but like really a lot of our games are some form of we want you to use these cool powers. And it sounds like what I'm hearing is like, yeah, the cool powers are fun and you should use them, but the story doesn't drive forward unless those scars are really popping up and moving. So actually, let's dig a little bit into it because we talked a lot about the character creation, about the mechanics. last time we chatted, you talked a bit about conspiracies, and we didn't really touch on it here, but basically character creation involves also the creation of a commiserate conspiracy. So maybe talk more about that relationship a bit more.
Oh, yes. Conspiracies are one of the fundamental things behind that is universal to the game. In fact, whenever I was designing variations, I had to think, okay, would this variation make it so that you can't, like, the conspiracy chasing you thing is not a plot point that you can do. So there's no time travel, there's no dimension hopping, there's no, going off planet.
Yeah. The conspiracy will always have some plausible way of getting you.
Right. The whole idea is that you are on the run from the conspiracy, and if you don't have that, you don't really have a Deviant game. It's certainly not a Renegades game.
Right.
Conspiracies, their power level is based on the power level of the characters you start out with. So if you have a standing one conspiracy, so the 2 dots of variations at your disposal, that's not going to be nearly as scary as if you start out with 15 dots of variations and now it's a standing 6 variation, much more scary thing. And they have it's built very similarly to the crew mechanics in Geist. Okay. But Geist, the crew is predominantly, or at least kind of assumed to be, someone that's on your side, whereas conspiracies are the bad guys. So we do a little bit of different things with them. Every conspiracy is made up of nodes, which is like individual chunks of the conspiracy. Like, let's say you have a laboratory and all the people in it that are part of this conspiracy. Then you have like the accounting department of the conspiracy that makes sure the money flows. And you have the public relations department that makes sure that, like, if you try to do bad things to them, then the newspapers run your face in the newspaper as like this horrible fugitive. And so it's not as simple as, you just find one person and just end them. The nodes you're up against baselines, you're up against normal people, but there are a lot of them, and they're not all in one place.
So you're not really in a situation where it's like there's one mad scientist who's created you, a la, like, say, a Promethean.
Mm-hmm. Right. Progenitor is a pretty important relationship, but it's not the only relationship with conspiracies you'll find. There will always be, those the bounty hunters that are chasing you, the mafia that are shaking down your neighbors and your friends to try to get at you. And so when you want to take down a conspiracy, you basically don't research the entire conspiracy, you research one of its nodes and say, okay, this is the laboratory that is connected to the conspiracy. And within each node, you have a linchpin character. It's one person who is a villain, not the villain, but a villain. And if you take that person out, whether it's convince him that what he's doing is terrible, or kill her, or get her arrested, whatever it takes to get that person out of the picture, it destroys the node too. You see that sort of mechanic a little bit in Orphan Black, where they're taking down these individual people, and once Dr. Leakey is dead, that is a significant setback for the entire conspiracy.
Right, or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when they're going after Hydra,
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all keep referencing things I haven't seen, so I can't pop in with my pop culture references.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No. I have no interest in it.
Conspiracies also have icons, which are comparable to Reliquary, I think is the mechanic in Geist. They're kind of rather than being necessarily a physical thing, they're basically a node's or a conspiracy's superpowers. So it's like, being connected to the mafia in the area. And so nobody will want to talk to you if you try to, like, basically if you ask around about the conspiracy, it'll get back to the conspiracy that's what you're doing, and and people are less likely to talk to you about it because they're afraid that the mob is going to show up and burn down their house if they tell too much about the conspiracy to a perfect stranger, especially one with an extra couple fingers. But icons have a lot of different variety in them, but they're basically the conspiracy superpowers. And then projects are sort of like what they've got going on. If they're not actively working against the characters, they're just getting more powerful and getting more projects in play. And they get a little bit more frightening if you let them just sit. So you do want to keep them on their toes by opposing them. Now, when you're creating your characters, you actually are also creating conspiracy that they're currently on the run from. Now, you can do one where it's one conspiracy that made all of their characters. You can do everyone is in the same clade, could even be the same origin. That's not going to prevent you from having all sorts of variety in terms of character concepts. But it is very possible to do, one conspiracy, one clade, one origin, and that's the whole group. But you can also very easily do one that you can have characters with multiple different conspiracies that were originally chasing them. In the playtest I did, we had a group that was a conspiracy that was kind of known among other conspiracies as animal control, and sort of as a derisive nickname for this conspiracy that was well known for making animals that were good at hunting deviants. But animal control was also really well known for hunting and finding deviants that nobody else seemed to be able to catch. So if you had, say, a body-swapping grandmother who kept on going from body to body, looking for a younger and more attractive body each time, that's hard to track. Right. So you call animal control. If you have a talking squirrel with electrokinesis and the ability to make every human think that, they should listen to the squirrel, you call animal control. If you have a Cthulhuoid monstrosity whose deadly tentacles cause people to rise as Cthulhuoid entities, you call animal control. If you have an invisible saber-toothed tiger hunting down each of your conspiracy members and offing them in clever and cool ways, for God's sake, call animal control. So they were all of them had different conspiracy backgrounds, but when they were making a conspiracy, this is the one that we're going to be making as part of the character creation, they made animal control. And you design, talk about a couple nodes that you can choose each person in the character creation rules. And the thing is if the players are not really into making the opposition, you don't have to. But if my players love it, and I know a lot of others will, you can say, okay, each person gets to create a node. Describe one thing that this conspiracy has that you may have to deal with, or a character that they have to deal with. Icon, same thing. Linchpin, same thing. So you have a lot of out of character understanding of it, so that it's a lot easier to play along with the plot of dealing with these conspiracies. And in fact, part of the process of running a session is at the end of each session, everyone, and this is optional, but again, very fun, and Megan's group loved it. They just ate it up when she did playtests. But everyone takes on the role of one of the linchpin characters, and you have a little meeting and talk about what your plot is, your plans are for the next session as the enemies. Or you can extend that out to, okay, let's say that they went berserk in a mall and hurt a lot of people. You could all take on the role of a bunch of witnesses that are being debriefed about what they saw. And talk about the trauma, so you can drive home how awful that situation really was, and but it gives you, because the renegades are not nice people, but the conspiracies they oppose are worse, and I think it's important to make sure that it is clear that that's the case, because otherwise it just becomes shit dark. Beyond grimdark. It's just, and that's not really the goal. There is a darkness there. There is a pretty violent game. But these people are wronged, and the people that were wronged by are going to wrong other people.
So, it sounds like is the Renegades are anti-heroes, but they're still heroes in a certain respect.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. That all sounds really exciting, and even though I knew some bits of it, I've learned so much that makes me even more excited about this game. We have a couple minutes left, so maybe you could talk a little bit about some stretch goals that are either unlocked or are coming up that you're really excited about.
I'm really excited about pretty much anything that involves me getting to write more stuff.
That's fair.
The Clade, you know how that goes. I mean, but the Clades Companion is conceived as a 5-part series of like they're, it's not every stretch goal, but a couple. There are 5 parts to it, and we hope to all of them be unlocked.
Yeah.
The first 2 are one of them is definitely unlocked. The other one is just under $300 away. Just operators are standing by.
Although this is releasing, 9 days from now? So hopefully we've unlocked a couple since then.
I hope so too. But Chimerics, so the Cephalus went in order of the Clades. And while it's called the Clades Companion, it isn't specific to each Clade. It's just a nice, clever way, or I think clever, way of encapsulating a set of rule systems that I want to include in this game that otherwise there's no way that I would have space for in a core. The Cephalus was, here have some new forms that would take a lot of space to explain in the forms section, but do like really nifty and weird things. So that's the ones I was talking about earlier. And I mentioned the uplifted animals. The one thing that I've always I won't say agonized over, but anytime I've had someone who wanted a pet in a game, in a Chronicles of Darkness game, it's like, just where are the pets? Like, I have to go online and so one of the things I decided I really wanted to do was have okay, I've got these characters who have access to a power called animal transformation, so you can pick, change into an animal. What are the stats? I've got characters who can now are uplifted animals. What are the stats? I have manticores, which are basically animals that have gone beyond the divergence. They're not uplifted, they're not fully sapient, but they're animal companions. What are the stats? And so the Chimerics expansion of the Clades Companion was intended to provide stats for all of that stuff and to very carefully integrate it with the mechanics that I'm going to be adding in the form for uplifted animals. And for animal transformation. So instead of just saying, gosh, I wonder what, let's make a judgment call, just say, okay, this requires you to have this magnitude of animal transformation, or you do follow this particular bit of mechanical rule in uplifted animal.
Okay.
So it's fully integrated with existing systems. In addition to giving lots of examples of animals and manticores in there. And so how optimistic do I want to be here?
Shoot for the moon.
What is the question? Shoot for the moon. Oh boy, I guess you'd cut out anything that comes in that we aren't anywhere close to by then. But it's 12 days away. Coactives is one of the things that we just didn't have space for was ephemeral entities rules. So we had to do some interesting tiptoeing around not having ephemeral entity rules when we were doing coactives. And I think we did a really good job with it in the core. You don't have to have the Clades Companion to have those kind of characters. But it adds something to have some form of ephemeral entities rules in there. And moreover, I've got this toolkit game going on. I want I'm already talking in the Cephalus part about people who get to play visitors from alternate dimensions, alternate timelines, and embodied ephemeral entities. So I feel like there has to be some more fun stuff to that. And so I kind of want to play with the coactives. The idea is to have a toolkit in addition to the ephemeral entities rules, but have a toolkit that lets you kind of make up new worlds, not huge, fully realized ones, but when you talk about this is where I'm from and these are the things that I considered normal. You have at least a little bit of a starting point to have those conversations with your new friends who are on the run from whatever is pursuing you. So that's really coactives.
We've hit our hour. So your promised time is expired.
Is this how we do it now, Eddy? Do we have a rule on this podcast?
This is the only rule we have, apparently. and we'll forget it by next week. So
I feel like we've never had a rule. We do try to keep it to an hour because I think we had one interview that went an hour 20. So we did like the shortest ever like intro outro. Because let's face it, we like to bullshit during the intros and outros.
If I spoil a little bit more at the risk of it not hitting those stretch goals, can I have 5 minutes? Maybe not even 5 minutes.
I'll give you 3.
that's the rule.
So
I'm timing
the invasives
you right now.
Piece of it is providing additional equipment. There's a really cool ability in among the invasive variations where you can like pull random things out of that are just like you just define. I have this thing in a pouch. There's some limits, but there's not a whole lot of lists of things to pull out of the pouch. So we want to give more equipment lists as well, so that you don't have to have the core Chronicles of Darkness rulebook if you don't have that handy. But also, I want to do shoddy equipment. Deviants do not always have access to the most high-quality goods because whenever they use resources, it attracts attention to the Conspiracies. So they sometimes have to make do with stuff that they like scrounge or make or steal. So I want to do something about shoddy equipment, dubious goods and services in general. And I want to do experimental prototypes and alien technology, things that are not fully understood or don't have all the bugs worked out, and have some mechanics around that too, because that seems like a thing a Deviant should have access to too.
Sure, absolutely. Bleeding edge technology, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's invasives.
Sweet, nice.
The last one is when we do the mutants, I'm going to add some more forms. And this time we're going to deal with ones that kind of violate some of the kind of assumptions that you would usually have, such as if you are a series of clones and your mind can jump from one clone body to the next. So if you die, it's a temporary thing rather than a major problem. Whether it's, it's the same one over and over again, or your consciousness can just hop into someone else who just happens to be nearby, and ethics be damned, or whether you have kind of a wardrobe of alternate bodies lined up. It's like if you're an android and, have some sort of sender for those. So that's a form. And then another one that kind of lets you play something that is not humanoid in shape. So an uploaded, a transferred consciousness onto like something on an AI mainframe. And so those are the 5 for the Clades companion. And then there's more after that, which I'll save for another time.
We got 20 seconds.
Kickstarter's going right now. Not sure where exactly it is, but operators are standing by. Please, please, please tell your friends, family, random people on the street. Just help us hit these stretch goals. It's an awesome game. You won't regret it.
All right, you're done. Bang.
Yeah, you clearly timed that very well.
I did. I was watching the counter. I was literally timing it.
Nice. If people wanted to chat with you online, Eric, how would they find you?
I haunt the forum pretty extensively on Onyx Path. I just can't resist a question. Again, the extroverted creative type. It just asks me a question and I'm compelled to answer. I've been replying a lot in comments. I'm also on Twitter at 4moonspress, which is as in the word spelled out of the number.
F-O-U-R Moons Press.
F-O-U-R Moons Press.
4 Moons Press, no numerals.
No numerals. No.
All right. Well, thank you for hanging out with us, Eric, and we will go on to the outro. And we're back.
I've been busy playing Mario Kart, of course, earning more and more crowns, which was very easy when I wasn't competing against anybody.
I just imagine there's like a stack of crowns now teetering on your head.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just hoping one of them might fall on you, but no.
He just starts casually throwing them in the trash in front of you.
Setting fire to them, eating out of them, using them as a toilet. Because even that is better than putting one on your head, Eddy.
All right, after we're done recording, we're going back to this. I gotta stop this now.
Okay, all right. One more for Eddy's redemption.
Sorry, callback. call back to a few episodes ago, taking a bio break in one of my crowns.
No, there we go.
I am going to say one thing to, like, just to make Eddy feel a little better. He did pick Donkey Kong, who is one of the slowest characters.
Well, no. Donkey Kong has a very high speed, just a very slow acceleration, I think.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying. So every time you get, like, hit with something or whatever, it takes you forever to come back to it.
And we did keep hitting Eddy.
Yeah, we did.
Oh my! I'm bruised.
But
The Onyx torture cast.
Oh, there's infinite possibilities stretching out ahead of us now. So yeah, Deviant.
But Deviant, yes. Speaking of torture, Deviants are characters that were created by torture. See that seamless segue that happened there? That was great.
Yeah, I planned that.
You did totally. I'm definitely building off of where you're going.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's like I said before. I mean, it was genuinely cool to hear Eric's enthusiasm, and also for both of you, kind of talk about a little bit like how the history of it. Dave Brookshaw's kind of inception of it, and then moving on to Eric kind of stewarding the rest of the project. I think that stuff's really exciting and interesting.
Yeah, I know that we don't talk like we have a few books that have been co-developed in this fashion as opposed to co-developed from the beginning. And it is interesting when we hand off a project. Often it happens in red lines or like around red lines. Like we did with Becca's Jihad Diary with Neil and Matthew.
Right.
And then with this one with Dave and then Eric. And like sometimes it just happens that someone has too much on their plate and they just can't finish something in a timely fashion. And, we don't want to get like awful with people about that. We want them to continue to be part of the project if possible. So it's nice when we have somebody as enthusiastic as Eric to step in and take over. Just because the alternative would be a lot worse, obviously.
Absolutely. And also it's been exciting to watch him because he's been very enthusiastic in the Kickstarter comments as well. So if you've already backed Deviant, odds are you've talked to Eric already.
Yeah, literally as we were recording, he posted a comment 14 minutes ago. He posted a comment 16 minutes ago. He posted a comment a couple hours ago. He posted several comments a couple hours ago. Like, he's just, like, if you have a question about Deviant the Renegades, go to the Kickstarter, back for $1 and ask it in the comments. Eric will get back to you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's, and frankly, I mean, the fact that we talked about the pop culture references to it, but I mean, it's just neat to see a new chunk of an established world kind of being born. And having someone help to articulate that was really valuable. So I think it was great to bring him on. I think we should keep trying to do more of these where we can. We'll do our own 3-person deep dives as it makes sense. But also I think once in a while bringing a developer on or someone who's very heavily involved with it and talking about it gives a different perspective.
Yeah, totally. Also, I mean, it's a nice way to have somebody that we've like interviewed before, talked to before, back to talk about something really specific. Because when we're talking to someone that's worked with us on a few different books, we're trying to cover all of that, like Megan Fitzgerald, for instance. Right. So it'd be cool to have her do, a deep dive into Changeling Lost or a deep dive into her Exalted projects or something, just, to kind of narrow the focus.
Yeah, completely agree. Speaking of which, have we done a deep dive? We haven't done a deep dive on Chicago yet, have we?
Or any of the upcoming V5 books either. I guess with Chicago very soon coming to press, it would be timely. Yeah, or they came from beneath the sea, for that matter.
That's all true. We have not done that. We did Pugmire. We haven't done They Came From. So yeah, that's a good point.
Does that mean that we get to grill you?
Yes.
I don't mind. I could endure a grilling. I think it might be quite fun. You can question my expertise and talent. Don't worry, I question it every day. It won't be any different.
I'll say we can burn your crowns and roast you over top of that.
Yep. Well, there's enough of them. I imagine you could create quite a flame.
So if people wanted to talk to you about your Mario Kart expertise or about Deviant the Renegades, where would they find you, Dixie?
Dixie Cyanide on most social media. You almost surprised me there because I was reading a poem about Untitled Goose Game.
Because of course you were.
I was retweeting a poem about Untitled Goose Game because I am thinking about being the titular goose for Halloween. And I'm just going to steal things all night. Anyway, you can find me at Dixie Cyanide on most social media, DixieCochran.com. That's pretty much it. I'm around. I'm on Twitter.
before we move on, can you be the titular goose if it is in fact explicitly an untitled game?
Yes.
Okay. Matthew, where can they find you at?
Ooh. Would it be the titular goose or the eponymous goose?
It's probably the eponymous goose.
Probably is Barman eponymous goose.
But if you want to talk with me, I haven't played the Untitled Goose game, but you can find me on MatthewDawkins.com. You can find me as ClackClickBang on Twitter. And please do follow twitch.tv/the Onyx Path for all of our actual plays. I think this week we have finally had our first week of every single day has had some new content on it, which is quite stunning. We've got that many actual plays going. And October is character creation month. Every Saturday is a different game, and we're creating characters for each of them. And then come November, we will be doing one-shot month using those characters. So this coming Saturday, we have Scarred Lands, and I believe the plan is for the following week to be Deviant. We also have plans for Scion, Trinity, and a game that may well be decided by poll. So keep an eye on the Onyx Path blog and Twitter. We will see where best to host a poll like that.
Sounds good. And you can find me at pugsteady.com, and from there you can find links to all my different social media accounts. One thing I'm doing in October is Inktober. I'm not much of a artist in terms of drawing, but it's something I want to try and learn how to do. So if you really want to check out my not so great drawing for the month of October, feel free to check out my Instagram account, which again is linked off of pugsteady.com.
We should all commit to do that together, and then that would be fun.
Well, by the time this has gone live, it'll be deep into at least a week into October. So we'll find out if you did
3 days or 4 days into October when this goes live.
Gotta catch up.
It's October 4th for those listening to this the day it drops.
But also, even outside of us, definitely follow us, The Onyx Path on Twitter, The Onyx Path Facebook group. We have a Discord. We have a Twitch channel, as Matthew mentioned. theonyxpath.com. Definitely come check us out. If you're interested in knowing about the status of upcoming project, check out our Monday meeting vlogs, which goes into a list of where each project is every week. So with that, many worlds on Pathcast.